I do know this is a little low. I'm having a little bit of audio issues today. So I'm aware of that. I'll try to fix it in post. So if you're having a problem watching it on Twitch, um, you can go on YouTube and I'm going to try to fix this in post. I've been trying to fix it and it's not really working. So we're gonna go on with it and I'll try to fix it, figure out what's going on later. Um, had a bit of a break, and so this is the first time back. So I think all my software got recalibrated. So that's usually what happens. I want to talk a little bit about awareness and why some people just seem more plugged in than others. And I'm going to use certain examples today that I haven't really used before. And one of them is going to be homeopathic natural remedies. And this is something that came to my attention when I was reading articles about treating animals with homeopathic remedies, and I started really wondering, I wonder, why do some people take them and they're fine and they really assist them, human people or human consciousness people, or I don't know what's the human body in human body physical form, they can take it, and some people get a lot of remedy out of it and other people don't. And when you start looking at giving it to pets, it's kind of the same thing you would hear when you give them a more traditional medicine. If you give an animal a more traditional medicine, a lot of times they will say that antidepressants, will work on animals quicker than they work on people. Because animals are not programmed with the same stories that humans are, which kind of starts to shed some light on why some of these other remedies work better on animals than on some people. When we don't have all the story in the way, we don't have all the emotions in the way, we're not attached to the whatever physically is going on with us. And we're not only not attached to what's physically going on with us, we can look deeper in and see that whatever is going on with us, there's another layer to it. It's not just about the arm we hurt or the nasal congestion we have. It's deeper than that. It's a different layer than that. And even if you're not really into your ascension journey or into your awakening, or you're not even into any of that, you just have a more of an awareness to energy in general. And there are some people that are just more drawn to that in general. It doesn't mean they're more conscious. It doesn't mean they're awakened in a sense. It just means they're a little more into their journey than somebody else. But more of the, I don't know the best way to put it, kind of cusping on their journey a little bit. They haven't really gone full swing into it. Because until you really start redoing your life, or your life gets kind of redone for you to fit into the mold, or get out of the mold of the human life and get into what would be more of a soul-aligned life, which is not really what we pictured it was going to be, and not how our human would have thought it was going to be, because you're coming from two separate consciousnesses, in a sense. So, but even in those realms, even when people just start playing in fourth dimensional treatments like Reiki or homeopathic medicine, and a lot of people kind of go into these things because traditional stuff didn't work for them, So there are people that just kind of gravitate toward those things naturally. There are other people who will start with traditional medicine and then go toward homeopathic and natural medicine, right? Like arnica is a good example. Arnica is good for swelling, and that is more of one you see that's more mainstream than some of the other ones. Because the arnica works, so they would say it kind of works on a different level. It works on an energetic level. It works on clearing the emotions attached to the thing. It's not really attacking the thing that you're trying to fix. It works on an energy level, Flower essence is the same thing. They say it works on an energy level. These are more natural things that kind of go underneath a little bit and look at what's going on. It still has that physical component to it, but it's working on a deeper level. But for some people, it doesn't seem to work at all. Where if you give it to animals, normally, every time I've given it to an animal anyway, you see a lot of mass benefits for the animal because they're not bogged down with all this stuff as to why it shouldn't work, why it seems ridiculous, or all the story they have around why they don't feel well, right? Why their leg hurts, why their eye is swollen. They don't have the story around this stuff. They don't have the preconceived beliefs about any of this stuff. They just know it doesn't feel right? Something's going on. Whereas humans, we don't really have that. We always want to go beyond that. And then we always want to go into the beliefs of what we thought it was and the beliefs of why we think it's here. And that's why for a lot of people, even you might start out where you tried homeopathic remedies and you're like, wow, they just don't work. I've heard so many people say that. Oh, I tried that stuff. This stuff just doesn't work at all. And I'm like, that is so weird because every time I would use them, it would work. And I'm like, it's just weird for people to say they don't work. And it took me a while to unpack why. The deeper you go with your clearings, the deeper you go with understanding why things, I'm going to use the word manifest here, why they manifest the way they do, why things come to fruition the way they do, how things manifest in the body the way they do, how things will come to be through physical ailments in the body. Distorted frequencies is another way you're going to hear it being said. Everything a human would categorize as an illness is just a distorted frequency in the body. And it's causing that body part to, not operate how it should operate, right? But as humans, we don't see it that way. We attach all this stuff to it. So you have layer and layer and layer and layer upon why this natural homeopathic stuff's not going to work. So you have the belief mindset sometimes that, it just doesn't work, which is one of the main things you'll see. Then you also have the mindset of you have so much human programming. If someone is still deep in their human consciousness, a lot of this stuff is just not going to have the effects it has once you've shed some of that, once you've transcended some of that, once you've kind of gotten rid of all the layering. It's kind of like the Princess and the Pea, that old fairy tale, where she could feel the pea on no matter how many mattresses they put on top of this little teeny pea. She could still feel that pea. She's like, no, I can still feel it. You have to kind of throw off the mattresses. You have to start taking off layer by layer of what you think it is, or what you think is going on with your life, what you think is going on with your body, and bust through what you think is going to work, what you think is not going to work. It's funny. I heard someone say this years ago, and it's very true. We will take anything that a doctor would prescribe and just take it. But if someone gave us anything homeopathic, or they gave us a natural remedy, or any kind of really supplement in general, we will just research the hell out of that to see, oh my gosh, should I take this? What's going on with this? What is this? Let me just really get in there and research it before we take it, because we have more trust in the external medical system of what's going on, that if they say it's okay, it's okay. Even though all those types of medications have huge side effects too. But they do work on a different, and we're going to go with level sake, they do work on a different level. They are on a different level in a sense, because it's working on a very superficial level, right? It's working on a very superficial level to just treat the symptom, right? Let's get rid of whatever this ailment is. Let's just kind of really hit that with a grenade in a sense. But we're not going to worry about why it's there. We're not going to worry about why we're going to keep going with manifesting today, but not in the traditional sense of how it's normally used in the spiritual community, because I don't really love that word. Why is it here? Why is this showing up? We don't care about that. The medical system, they don't care about that. That does not matter. Just pull that shit aside. They don't care about that. They're just trying to treat the one thing. We're trying to get to that one core thing. We're not worried about all the side stuff. We're not worried about why it's there. We're just trying to treat that one thing. But they're not getting to the underlying cause of it. And that's why, one day you have one thing, and then later you got something else going on, and then it's this, or oh no, now we are going to treat you for this, and you get on the kind of that carousel, the human consciousness medical carousel of when we're not sure what's going on, which it's always going to be your light body in one way or the other trying to clear something. That's what it is. That's every kind of illness you have. That's what's going on. You're trying to clear something. There's something distorted you're trying to get out of your body. But we just kind of try to suppress the symptoms of that in a sense. And that's why the traditional stuff, as a human would say, more traditional medicine can work quicker if you really have all those beliefs of why the other stuff's not going to work, and all the human consciousness, the human programming that hasn't been cleared on, that kind of buries the reason of what's really going on, right? So, and let me kind of flip that. Our perception is it doesn't work because we don't see the symptoms going away right away. Right? We don't see immediate relief. Now, for some people, we do see immediate relief because we've transcended a lot of that human programming to get to the core of the issue, not just the symptom, right? So it works on a level that is more of an organic way to work, and it might not take away things as quickly as the traditional stuff, which is just aimed at taking away the discomfort. Right? And that's really what all of human consciousness tries to do. Let's take away the discomfort. I don't want you digging into the discomfort. I don't want you to try to figure out what's going on with the discomfort. That's not what human consciousness, human realities want you to do. They don't want you to do that. We're just going to put a Band-Aid on that. We'll even send you to therapy to mask that, but we don't really want to get to the bottom of it. Not really, because the bottom of it, it's kind of black and white in a sense. We created the realities. We're going through the realities. That's the reality. You know, there's nothing more sinister than that. And why did you create it? What are you trying to get out of it? Why are you still in these realities that make you uncomfortable? That's what that's about. You know, that's really digging into it. Pulling it apart. Whereas the natural homeopathic medicines, I'd even throw flower essences in here. They work more on an energetic level. All this stuff is doing work. But it's like that pea underneath all those mattresses. It's doing all that work, but it has so many layers to cut through before you're actually going to see a difference. People say, okay, it doesn't work. Because it doesn't get rid of the initial thing they wanted it to fix. So immediately they say, this is bullshit, it just doesn't work at all. And they stop doing it. Whereas other people, you might, like I said, you might have started out on it never worked for me. Now, years later, maybe you're more into your awakening, maybe you're more into your ascension process where you say, wow, this really works a lot better on me. And I say animals are a great kind of way to see how quickly a lot of this stuff works when none of that stuff is in the way. None of that human programming belief systems are in the way of them feeling the benefits of more natural types of remedies. Right? They just don't have the blocks. And like I said, a veterinarian will even tell you that for traditional medicine, that it hits them quicker because they don't have all the story in the way. They don't care their mother abandoned them when they were 3 weeks old and left them to fend for themselves. They were picked up by the shelter, and they don't care about that stuff. They don't have that. They don't hold on to that stuff. You know, they move on to the next reality. You know, they don't have that human programming to make them really double down on it and make them continue to think about it and continue to kind of quest over it in a sense. You know, continue to go through it. They just don't have that. You know, they just don't have that. Presence is really, I guess, the word that I'm getting with it. They don't have the presence with that. They don't have they are trying to, and they also are in a survival state. A lot of animals are. They don't get bogged down by that stuff. You know, even though technically humans are too, but humans are in a different survival state. They're in a survival state to try to win at the human game, which is, you know, it's a stacked house. You know, the house always wins. You can't really win at the game, but for a lot of our human realities, we still, you know, we would still throw the dice and see what we'd get. You know, sometimes we roll 7, sometimes we crap out. You know, that's just how human realities win for us. You win some, you lose some. But when you really started adding it up at the end, we kind of lost more than we won. And sometimes you would just get okay with the losses because it kind of made it more bearable. It's kind of like when you go through, and this has become more of a traditional medicine talk, and I really didn't kind of want it to go there, but I guess that's just where it's kind of got to lead to. When you kind of start to see how things have shifted, on what things are that are prescribed more to the collectors than they used to be. You know, things that are given out more readily, and all of a sudden now things aren't. You know, it used to be antibiotics were very readily given out. And now they don't really want to give those out anymore. It used to be, you know, painkillers were very readily given out. until that got abused. So, antibiotics got abused in a sense, because the human realities abuse everything. Painkillers, now they're abused. Now we can't have those out because that leads to a whole different set of problems. Now we're into more the antidepressants. That, that kind of stuff is very readily given out now to kind of help people cope with their life, help people cope with their realities that they don't really want to be in. They would almost want to sever them from their consciousness. I was watching the show Severance, which, if you haven't seen the show, they kind of can put a chip in your head and sever your consciousness, and you can go do certain things like go to work and not know anything about what's going on at work, and you leave work and you have no memory of it, and they have people who go to the dentist, and you can sever that whole memory or anything you don't really want to participate in. And it got me thinking of, how many things would you sever from your day, especially when we're in our human realities that we just we don't want to be part of. We don't want to go. We don't want to do them. I don't want to do any of those things. I don't want to be part of any of that stuff. How many of those things do we do? Where we just don't want to experience it. We would rather just block it out. Then why are we still in them? How much do we kind of self-medicate to stay in realities that we know we don't have enjoyment for? And there's a lot of different ways to go with that. There's a lot of different answers to that question. There's not just one answer to that question. Because there's so many different reasons you're in a reality. So you never want to just look at it and go, okay, I'm not happy here, I have to leave. And sometimes that is the answer. Sometimes it's like, okay, why am I here? What am I supposed to do here? What's the purpose? And not the human purpose. The human purpose is just what dangled the carrot to get you in the door. That's not why you're there. You're there for a different reason. You're there for a reason that you can't see yet, in a sense. Your sole reason. Why am I here? What contract do I have to be here? How long do I have to be here? Am I trying to get out because I don't want to have to feel the stuff I'm feeling when I'm here? It's too difficult. I don't want to experience it. People will self-medicate because they don't want to feel the feelings. That's why for a lot of us, money gets taken away because we have to go through everything. And when you have money, you tend to buy your way out of things. You don't want to do that. I'm going to buy my way out of that. I don't want to have to go through that experience. I'm going to buy my way out of that. I don't want to have to do any physical labor. I don't want to have to paint the house. I'm going to get someone else to do that for me. Whatever it is. It could be the smallest thing to the biggest thing, but we would buy our way out of everything. We didn't want to experience it. We didn't want to have to go through it. That's why in Ascension, pretty much you have to do everything. You have to do everything at least once, and then you can say, it's really not my thing. I don't want to do it again, but let me at least do it one time to say, okay, let me see. Let me experience it. Because it's not only the experience, it's what that experience brings up. What emotions come up with this? What emotions come up with me maybe having to deal with settling my parents' estate, or I could just hire someone to do that for me, and then I don't have to do any of that experience at all, or I can hire someone to do this for me, I can hire someone to handle this lawsuit, or whatever. It doesn't matter what it is. Look at all the things that get farmed out that you don't want to have to experience, you don't want to have to deal with. You don't want to have to, put your big girl, big boy pants on and go on and deal with it. You'd rather farm it out because you don't want to have the experience. You don't want to put together that piece of furniture because you're going to get super pissed off and frustrated with it. But maybe that's the point of having to do it. So there's a lot of things that we kind of have to put ourselves through. But as humans, we will avoid that stuff. We don't want to put ourselves through it. And that's kind of one of the bigger bones to pick people will have with Ascension when you're going through it, is you have to go through everything. You have to do everything. You have to do the stuff you don't want to do. You have to be with people you don't want to be with sometimes. Maybe not long term, but for a while, to dredge up all that stuff. All that stuff is in the way of really getting to why that bothered you in the first place. It's not about them, it's about us. It's always going to be about you. It's not about other people. And when we keep trying to focus on it's about everything else, or even external things that our physical body's doing, it's not about those things. It's about what's under it. And if we never get to what's under it, we just want to stop. We got to kind of, it's almost like when you go through triage, at the hospital. They're there to stop the bleeding. They're there to make sure you're not gonna keel over, right? That's what it is. They're there to assess where are you at here on the life or death scale, in a sense. That's what it's there for, And I remember a surgeon once said to me, all bleeding eventually stops. And I remember thinking, yeah, when you bleed out. I was like, what are you talking about right now? But it is true. All bleeding will eventually stop. All of it will eventually stop. And And maybe that reality will, in a sense, bleed out. It will be done. It will have no more energy left to it. All the energetics and force that were keeping that reality together it'll eventually be done. They're all eventually done. Even highest line reality shift. We have this thing that if it's highest line, it never changes, and it never morphs into anything else. And that's very far from the truth. It's always going to morph into something else. We are not static, even though as human consciousness we want to be static. We want to stay in one phase. We want to love the same person for the rest of our life. We want to stay in these very fixed, cookie cutter realities. And when they stop working, we start reaching for stuff to try to keep it working, which does lead a lot of us to either you're going to go the traditional route for a while, traditional medications for a while. You might go right into more esoteric crystals and Reiki and all that type of stuff. And the same thing with the natural remedies. I would put Reiki in there in a sense. I can remember going to a Reiki session and feeling, wow, that was really powerful. And other people would go and say they didn't really feel much. I'm like, how can that be? How can some of us go and feel so much and other people go and not really feel anything? And it's not really the person doing it. It's more so how many layers we have on top of what's really going on. So when if you are into recommending, homeopathic remedies or doing that type of stuff yourself, and you go, wow, it used to work, and now maybe, or you're in a different phase, or maybe this stuff used to work more, and now it's not working like it used to. Now what do? Do I jump back, and is it just my body saying, well, now let's go without anything for a while? Because you don't want to use any of it long term as a crutch. You always want to be looking at, it can support. Stuff can support for a while, but you don't want to get attached to anything. You don't want to get attached to anything because then when it's not there, it sends your whole life into a tizzy because you have this thing that you have to have it to get through the day. You have to have it. I knew a lady that would have one of those crystals that had all the chakra colors on there, and she lost it in the ocean. And she said she was like in a complete mess the rest of the day because she thought her chakras were all going to be out of alignment. She had to go get a new one right away, because she'd gotten attached to it. And these things are just there to assist our vibration. And all this is about our body frequency, getting our body frequency up. How we truly do that is by clearing all those emotions underneath of what's going on, all the stories we have. We tell ourselves about why we have to put ourselves in these situations, why we have to put ourselves in situations we hate. Now, that's not saying sometimes we do have to do things we don't want to do. I was on a live the other night on YouTube, and we talked a little bit about kind of this subject. And I can remember there's one medical test I did not want to do. I was scared to death to do the test. I did not want the result. But I was so much fear in doing it, I had to do it to break through the fear. The fear of doing it was the thing. It wasn't the test itself. It wasn't the result. It was the fear of getting to it and doing it. You have to see where the fear is, because you have to get through the fear. The fear is what's discordant. This fear is what's causing the frequency to be disjointed in your body. That's what you're trying to clear. Yeah, you'll set up this whole testing situation or whatever. That was what it was for me at the time, to break through that fear. Because nothing we fear more than when we get into any of the health stuff, when things start going awry with our body. That's when we get into big time fear. And it just ties back into the fear of death. And that we all have, and the unknown of that. So it's not as simple as saying, oh, I don't want to do that. Well, why do I not want to do that? Do I not want to do that because I'm afraid to do that? Do I not want to do that because I don't want to, or do I not want to do that because I don't feel like it's aligned for me to do that anymore? Those are two completely different energies as to why you're not doing something. But we can't avoid stuff. Because the minute you start avoiding things, that's what our human does. Our human will avoid. It doesn't want to do that. It doesn't want to have to work through, maybe you're at a job. You don't have to work through it with the boss you don't really like. Let me just quit and go to another one. You're not really working through anything. So you're going to have to clear it a different way, maybe through more of a physical body way, or your universe will set up another reality where you got to do it again with new people, because you're not really getting to what's going on. It's not about the other people we're not getting along with. It's about why we're not getting along, what's going on with us. Why am I giving my power away to these people? Am I not standing up for myself? Am I standing up for myself and encroaching on others? That's what it's about. It's not about so much the reality we've created, because we created that reality, so many weeks, years, days ago. It doesn't really matter. it's old news by the time the reality is here. We created that a long time ago. What are we creating now? But we can't create something new if we keep getting stuck in the old stuff. And we keep getting stuck in the loop of, it's everyone else but me. Which is what humans will do that all the time. We would always say, oh no, it's not you, it's me. But we never believed that. We always thought it was somebody else, right? We never really believed that it was actually us. That's just what we say because we don't want to have the conversation. We want to avoid the conversation. So we throw that shit out there knowing that's completely not true. It's completely you and it's not me. But in actuality, it is us. And that's kind of the funny part about anytime I hear that, or anytime I would say that, I'm like, it's actually completely me. I just don't want to say that because then I have to explain it, or I have to really be real with why it is me and not something else. So, all right, let me check. I'm not going to go super long today because I know my audio. I got to fix my audio. Okay, I don't have any questions. I will take questions. I'll keep it up for a little while longer. As soon as anything else I can throw in. This kind of went all over the place. I do think it's important that when we start really trying to pull this stuff apart, and if we just circle back to how we started, if you examine and just watch, if you just go back to Gaia in general, you watch how the earth changes. Some places we get seasons, some places you don't get seasons, but you just see the cycle of things and the cycle of, even nature, the cycle of nature. And there's so many species that have a lot of offspring to technically feed other species. That's most of them are food sources. Baby rabbits, baby mice. I mean, they have so many because so many don't make it because they're picked off by bigger predators so they can survive. And there is a sense of sacrifice to that. And there's a sacrificial energy to that we don't so much like in our human consciousness when we think about it, because that's not for us to do, that's for everything else to sacrifice for us. But we don't want to, I don't really even like the word sacrifice, but in the sense of sacrifice, in a sense, there will be people who come into your reality that will do a lot to push you forward. They'll take on a lot of karma to push you forward. They'll take on a lot of things to make you really look at yourself, put you in a situation where you really have to look at how you acted in the situation, how you acted toward them in a situation. And there is a lot of people that move in and out of our life like that. And there's a lot of realities we set up to just almost be to push us forward. There are a lot of people in your life, if you look back, you might not have liked them on a human level, but on a soul level, they push you forward. And maybe they did things that they create a lot of their own karma for that they got to clear later on when they go through their ascension process, or if they're not even going to ascend in this body, when they transcend, when they return to source, come back in a different body and they ascend in that one, they still got to clear that karma. They still took on karma for you in a sense. If they still created karma for them to clear later, but it was part of a soul contract to get you to a certain place. So there's a lot of layers to that, and there is that sacrificial. There is a bit of that sacrificial energy to that, to kind of push you to go forward, to get us to the next place. There's a lot of people who do a lot of work, like this, or tangential to this, or just in the genre to this, that in a way can feel sacrificial, that you kind of gave up your human life to push humanity forward. But in a sense, that is what you're doing. But it's really not a sacrifice, but our human's going to look at it as a sacrifice. But you see that, like I said, in nature, you see that constantly. There's always that aspect to a balance. There's a balance of, the pushing forward. But you have so much, you almost have extra till you can push others forward. And you're going to have a lot of realities where you're going to feel like you're pushing people forward, and you'll go back and see somewhere they pushed you forward. And will you come back and give them a hand up later on? Possibly you'll never see them again in this existence. I mean, that's the part of our human always wants to button it all up. Our human likes that really buttoned up ending. It likes it to movies. It doesn't like open-ended movie endings. It doesn't like open-ended anything. It wants it all questions answered. Let's button it all up. Let's finish it all out, and we're going to go on to the next reality. We don't like the loose ends, Now, technically, you're going to have a lot of loose ends. until you know how to completely tie them up. That's why our human leaves reality with a lot of loose ends. It's funny that we don't like loose ends when we watch them on TV, but we're happy leaving behind in our life because we don't want to deal with having to tie this all up, right? We don't want to have to get to the bottom of what's really going on. We don't really want to solve the mystery of this reality. We're gonna duck out and go to the next one, and we don't really care. We just don't want to have to do it again. But the funny part is we are going to do it again because we left too many loose ends that kind of come back in a sense and pull us back into these realities because we didn't really get to the bottom of it. You have to get to the bottom of why you're there. That's what really starts to raise our body frequency. We can clean up as much as we want to, but that's what really starts to raise us up, is clean up as much of what we're eating, what we're drinking, as far as chemicals and those types of things, and getting away from microwave food and getting away from bottled water. And, there's a plethora of things. Bluetooth, got to get rid of that too. All those things eventually go. Eating meat eventually is going to go for everybody. A lot of things we do to purify the body. But really purifying the programming, that really takes you to the next level, right? Of really being able to stop creating the same stuff. Because we do that constantly. Just recreate and recreate and recreate. So, okay, I think I'm going to leave it there today. Hopefully I will be back on track. We'll get this audio fixed for next time, and I'll see you next time.